The Sundarbans mangrove forest, spanning India and Bangladesh, is a unique ecological trap. It is the only place on Earth where humans are simultaneously hunted by apex predators from both land and water. Local fishermen wade waist-deep into the murky brown water daily to gather crabs. Visibility is absolute zero. From the dense shoreline, man-eating Bengal tigers track their movements. But beneath the surface lies a secondary hidden threat: highly aggressive bull sharks and Ganges sharks adapted to the muddy rivers. The environment forces a fatal choice. If a fisherman spots a tiger and retreats deeper into the water to escape, he steps directly into the shark's hunting ground. The opaque water allows sharks to strike without warning, usually severing lower limbs. Hundreds of people vanish in these swamps annually. Because bodies are rarely recovered, authorities cannot determine the exact mortality ratio between tiger and shark attacks. The Sundarbans remains a relentless dual-threat killing zone, where entering the water is a daily gamble with death. On June 8, 2023, 23-year-old Vladimir Popov entered the water at the Dream Beach Resort in Hurghada, Egypt. It was broad daylight. He was swimming just 30 meters from a crowded shoreline, completely unaware that he was already beyond saving. Without warning, a 10-foot tiger shark initiated a sustained predatory attack. This was not an exploratory bite. The shark struck with devastating force, surfacing multiple times to drag Popov under. His father and dozens of tourists stood on the beach, physically close but absolutely powerless to intervene. The entire horrific sequence was captured on multiple smartphones by hysterical bystanders. Popov was fatally mauled and pulled beneath the surface within seconds, long before a nearby rescue boat could reach him. The shark was captured hours later. Popov's remains were found inside its stomach. The attack shattered the illusion of modern resort safety, serving as a brutal reminder that even in heavily populated luxury tourist zones, humans remain part of the food chain.
On August 12, 1967, an unprecedented event occurred in Glacier National Park, Montana, forever altering wildlife management protocols in North America. Prior to this night, in the park's 57-year history, there had never been a recorded fatal grizzly bear attack on a human. By the following morning, two entirely different female grizzly bears would kill two young women in separate locations miles apart, within mere hours of each other. At the time, park management routinely ignored proper waste disposal protocols. Open-pit garbage dumps operated within the park boundaries, where employees discarded food waste specifically to attract bears for the entertainment of tourists. As a result, generations of bears had lost their natural fear of humans, directly associating human scent with a food source. 19-year-old Julie Helgeson and her friend Roy Ducat set up camp near the Granite Park Chalet. Around midnight, a severe thunderstorm rolled into the valley. At 1:30 a.m., an adult female grizzly, which had fed on garbage near the chalet for years, approached their campsite. The bear first approached Roy, biting him through his sleeping bag, but quickly shifted its predatory focus to Julie. The grizzly clamped its jaws onto Julie's sleeping bag and dragged her away into the dark forest. Roy, suffering from severe lacerations, was physically unable to stop the animal. Due to the raging storm and a complete lack of radio communication, a search and rescue operation could not be initiated until dawn. Julie was found alive nearly 400 yards from the campsite. The bear had inflicted catastrophic trauma, tearing through muscle tissue and puncturing vital internal organs. She bled to death shortly after rescuers carried her to a medical aid station. That exact same night, 9 miles away on the shores of Trout Lake, a group of 5 young people lay sleeping. Among them was 19-year-old Michelle Coons. At approximately 4 a.m., a different female grizzly, also heavily conditioned to human food, entered their campsite. The bear had previously raided their camp that evening, consuming their rations, but had now returned specifically for the humans. As the bear began sniffing the sleeping campers, 4 of the teenagers managed to slip out of their bags and scramble up nearby trees. Michelle Coons attempted to do the same, but the zipper on her sleeping bag jammed. The grizzly lunged. Michelle screamed to her friends in the trees that the bear was tearing her arm off. The grizzly dragged Michelle, still trapped inside the sleeping bag, deep into the dense brush. Her friends, pinned in the trees, were forced to listen in pitch darkness as the predator consumed her alive. The screaming lasted for several minutes before total silence set in. Michelle Coons's body was recovered the next afternoon. The bear had not only killed her, but had partially consumed her remains. The event became known as the Night of the Grizzlies. In the immediate aftermath, armed park rangers shot and killed 4 bears in the vicinity while hunting for the man-eaters. The United States National Park Service was forced to completely overhaul its wildlife policies. Open garbage dumps were permanently eradicated, and feeding wild bears became a strict federal offense. On October 5th, 2003, Timothy Treadwell, a 46-year-old wildlife enthusiast, and his 37-year-old girlfriend, Amy Huguenard, were camped in Katmai National Park, Alaska. Treadwell had spent 13 consecutive summers living in a tent in extremely close proximity to wild coastal grizzlies. He gave them names, filmed them, and operated under the delusion that the bears recognized him as a peer. Wildlife biologists had warned Treadwell for years that his blatant disregard for safety distances would inevitably end in his death. The fall of 2003 was an unusually harsh season for bears in the region. The salmon run was exceptionally weak, leaving the predators in a desperate state of hyperphagia, a biological drive to consume massive amounts of calories before winter hibernation. Treadwell and Huguenard had stayed in the park much later than usual, setting up their tent in thick brush near a salmon stream. The specific bears Treadwell was familiar with had already moved up into the mountains. In their place, highly aggressive, starving bears from other territories had moved down to the stream. During the day on October 5th, Treadwell spoke to an associate via satellite phone. He reported no signs of danger. The attack occurred later that evening amidst heavy rain. Treadwell's video camera was powered on, but the lens cap remained attached. The device recorded only audio, 6 minutes of uninterrupted primal horror that remains the most thoroughly documented fatal bear attack in history.
The audio recording begins with Treadwell screaming as a bear attacks him outside the tent. He yells for Amy to run away. Huguenard, rather than fleeing, unzips the tent and attempts to fight off the massive predator by striking it with a metal frying pan. The bear retreats for a fraction of a second, only to return, clamping its jaws onto Treadwell's head and dragging him away into the brush. Treadwell's final words on the tape are a desperate scream, "He's killing me." The recording then captures Huguenard's piercing shrieks as the bear finishes Treadwell and turns its attention directly toward her. At 2 p.m. on October 6th, floatplane pilot Willie Fulton arrived to pick the couple up. Approaching the campsite, he noticed the shredded tent and a massive male grizzly sitting on top of human remains, actively feeding. Fulton immediately radioed park rangers. When heavily armed rangers arrived by helicopter, the bear, catalogued as Bear 141, charged them through the brush. Rangers fired multiple rounds to bring it down. It was an older, 1,000-pound male with broken teeth, a condition that severely limited its ability to catch normal prey. The forensic sweep of the campsite revealed a gruesome scene. All that remained of Treadwell was his disfigured head, a section of his spinal column, and his right arm, still wearing a wristwatch that was actively ticking. Amy Huguenard's remains were found partially buried in the dirt nearby. The bear had cached her body to consume later. Necropsy of the bear confirmed human tissue and clothing inside its digestive tract.